This is Black Love. Open forum discussion on everything black and everything love. What is black love? Black love means believe, live, acknowledge, know, while living victorious over everything. We are your hosts, Corey and Dory.
What's up, y'all? We promote love, not the LOVE love that we know, but the LVOE. That's who we are. And that simply means that we believe in love of oneself as well as everyone and everything around you. And that knowing that love, that LVOE, comes from knowing completely who you are. So, hey, find yourself. This is Black Love. Let's get it. I'm excited.
Let's go.
I mean, this is dope. I feel like it's been a long time coming. You know what I'm saying? We like finding, I think, the niche. You know what I'm saying? We knew we've been wanting to do this. We do this all the time, and literally, this is birthed out of our conversation.
Yeah, literally our conversations.
Like,
and we were kind of struggling with how we wanted to structure our podcast, because so many podcasts have like the set script and things like that. Others is just off the top and all unorganized, and we just want to be authentic. We want to have our conversations that we have, but we want to share them with you all.
Yeah, because really our dopest conversations be in the car. Like we that family who like we get in the car, especially like on a Sunday like today, and we'll just go grab a snack or something, throw the kids in the back, and just go get lost somewhere, like, and just talk and look at the scenery and take stuff in. And, like, that's where most of our problem solving comes into play, our dreams, our visions. Like, we just find them in those moments of just being raw. And that's where Black Love come from. It's straight from self, love, spirit, and family. Like that's really the essence of who he is.
Yep. And really trying to create creatures that are going to be leave this world better than we came into it.
Man, that's a whole nother episode.
Right. So what we talking about today?
All right, so first we got to explain to them, since they got a little bit of knowing who we are. Like, we got to explain that our podcast is a little different. So we got something called series, right? So season 1 is called Wild Black. So you like, what you mean Wild Black? So I mean, every episode is blank Wild Black. So today just happens to be Trauma Wild Black. So that's our first episode of our Wild Black series. So we hope it's gonna be dope.
It's gonna be dope. You ain't got no choice.
You're right. You're right about that. It's a little different. So here's the situation, though, right? Like, it's no secret of all the
chaos that's going on in the world right now.
Yeah, like, it's no secret whatsoever. And it's just, I don't know, I hate talking about it. I do. Like, I really hate talking about it. But at the same time, I know we have to talk about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, if you know me or you follow me or whatever, like, I post a lot of things and I share a lot of things. And I happen to share a post from a friend, and it says that if you have a black friend and you don't understand their pain right now, you don't have a black friend. You simply know a black person. Mm-hmm. And I was like, facts, period. It is exactly like,
right.
You know
right.
what I'm saying? So, like, I had everybody, most people like, true that,
well,
that.
Diving into that, before we even get to what we about to get to, like, literally, like, if you can't understand what your friends, not just any person, period, and I'm talking about whether your friend is black, white, Asian, purple, blue, pink, whatever. If you can't LGBTQ plus, like,
anything.
if you can't understand what that person, not all of them, not with every lesbian, not with every black person, not with every transgender, but if you can't understand what your friend,
when you put that
the pain that they
it,
have, you just simply know that person. Like,
yeah,
that's facts. I was like, my wheels were turning with that statement, because we tend to want to give people that we know outs at times.
True.
And that's where the struggle was like, well, what if my white friend doesn't really understand what I'm going through? But no, if they're my friend, if I call you friend, you should
Or
understand my
if you
pain.
get the privilege to be in my circle. And
Exactly.
this is the whole situation why I don't let people in my circle like that. Because energy, the older I get, energy is important to me. And if you already know me, like, I'm already a no nonsense, no ignorant type of person. Like, I'm not saying that I don't have patience with people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just the type of person that's like, don't come to me with that stupid mess.
Right.
Like, come on.
Right.
Come for real. And then I know the difference.
Exactly.
I know the difference of somebody who for real coming to me because they really trying to know something right now.
Right.
And then somebody who just on some old ignorant mess. And
They want to pass.
That's the shit right there that be like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, y'all getting comfortable, Dory. Y'all getting comfortable, Dory. She said that's the shit right there. She don't normally cuss when she in like little forums like this.
Well, let me not say
y'all getting comfortable, Dory.
Because
she be cautious about how she uses her language.
Well, okay. So this is part of the trauma, but this is giving me an idea for another episode, which we're gonna get into, because it's jobbing.
Write it down.
It's right, for real, like jobbing, or being in the world while black. And as a black woman, like, you conscious of those things. I'm an entrepreneur, so like I'm not always just in front of the people who look like me. So I'm always like, I've been like that since you're bred like that. And so this is part of the trauma. We're going to get into it, because I'm bred to always think about like who's in front of me. So I'm conscious about code switches. Like,
right. That's one thing we got to get into. But my quick piece on that is we're taught that we have to be a certain way, especially as black women. You're taught that you're too angry, too aggressive, too opinionated, so you try to taper that down around certain people.
In the front of your head every time you know.
Yeah, but that's another wild black.
That's a whole nother wild black.
But so back to this trauma wild black.
But I mean, yeah, I just don't do it the ignorance. So let me just tell you. So I had a comment that was placed on that particular post, and let me first say this, just in case she may be listening, which I hope she is. I did not immediately respond back, because another thing about me, I don't just pop off at the gums. I need to sit with some stuff, especially something like this. Like, I don't want to just react for one, and then for two, give misleading information. Because I'm gonna be, one thing about me, I'm gonna be 100 real, like percent real. I love my tribe. I have a Taylor in my tribe who's, when it comes to culture, like, she's up on game, history, all of that things. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say that I've always been in that vein. So,
that's right. You gotta call her a Taylor. You can't say Taylor,
right? No,
she's her own breed.
She's her own breed, and I love it. You, Taylor. Oh my gosh! Shout out to Taylor, and Katrina, and Ashley. Hey. But anyway, but no, for real, because she keeps you. She keeps you accountable to this stuff. So I feel like most of the times when it comes to stuff like that, I don't really say a lot of stuff vocally, because I'm a person who I want to have facts and knowledge before I speak. So I say all that to say, I didn't respond back yet to this comment, because I was still weighing whether this was ignorance or truth. But the way that I know, from what I know about this person and our interactions, I believe it to be just seeking truth. But basically, this is what she said. She was like, so do you mean, like, don't understand that they are going through pain, or understand their pain exactly? I asked this for understanding, because while I can understand they are going through pain, I am saddened by pain, by the things that they are going through. I can never truly understand their pain, as I am not in their shoes. I will never know what it really feels like to be black in America. And I ain't gonna lie, I felt some type of way about that. But I'm gonna be real about why I felt some type of way about that. And this is just being completely 100% transparent. As black people, I believe I can kind of step out here and just be on the platform and say, we tired of trying to explain that shit to y'all. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how do you not? I mean, I understand that you may not feel it, the character in your bone, but at this point, like, stuff like that, to me, I feel like I don't have no more cop-outs to give to you,
right?
You know what I'm saying? And it felt to me in the beginning, like, initially, like, a cop out from the responsibility.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Because
I don't know if
we want to say that well, I say we as humanity want to say that we empathize with people, but we can't be a part of the solution because we don't know what they're going through, and that's just it is a cop out because, like I said before, if you have a friend and that friend is like family. Like, most of our friends are closer to us than family. So if you have a friend and you consider them a friend, whether they be white, black, gay, lesbian, straight, whatever, if you have a friend, even if you can't fully identify with them as a person, you know that person and you have ties to them. That's like me saying that because I'm not because I'm not a little girl, that I can't know the pain that my daughter is going through when she skins her knee. Like, that's ignorant, because I know what it is to skin my knee. So when we put these things even on the situations that we're going through, police brutality has been at the forefront for the last it's been going on since slavery, but it's been really amplified here lately. So if you're telling me, I can understand that you don't know what it's like to be pulled over in fear for your life and have your hands on the dashboard and wondering if this is just a traffic ticket or if you're going to be shot. I understand that, right?
Or just the fear that go through your body in general. Like,
right.
Having a whole moment really quick.
Right.
At the gas station in the shit. Like, we ain't doing nothing. We just at the gas station getting gas. Sheriff pull up at the pump next to us looking at us. For real, had fear in my heart. Like, I know everything about me is legit, but like to have for real, like, terror, like, that's crazy. Or to always trying to think of how I'm acting. Am I acting too calm? Am I acting suspicious? Am I acting like I'm not acting suspicious? Trying to be like,
right. So
torture.
I understand that, right? I understand not being able to understand that fear and that trauma and that anxiety. I understand that. But when you say that you can't understand pain, that's a whole nother thing. If somebody gets pulled over and they're beat, shot, killed, whatever,
with their children,
they are crying out. People crying out for their mothers.
Yeah.
You know what it is to be a mother if you're a mother. You know what it is if you are not a mother. You know what it is to be a son or daughter and have fear and want your parents.
Right.
That is the pain that we're talking about.
But you know what? For real, like when we first started, I had this talk. Well, I had this thought. I said talk. I'll be talking to myself in my head, y'all. But that's a whole other episode. But it's called meditation, y'all. Anyway, humanity. So for me, when I don't want to group a bunch of people. You know what I'm saying? But at some point, I'm like, well, no, let's call a spade, because I was getting ready to try to say I don't want to group people into saying like that they don't have no humanity. But what I will rephrase and say is that when it comes to the humanity of our people, there is none.
Right.
Like there is none. So you don't even see, like, to say you, like you said, to say you can't understand the pain, to me is basically saying you don't see my humanity.
Exactly.
Like, you don't see my
and
life.
That is the problem. Like, right?
You don't.
Because that not being able to understand another person's pain is what has allowed for the oppressor. I won't even give a group, the oppressor, to oppress the oppressed, because they had to see us as less than human to be able to do those things to us. And even once they freed us from slavery, they still didn't classify us as a full person. Well, 2/3 of a person.
That's
what humanity is in that.
I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny. I'm just like, how the hell do you get to? And this is why I like Dr. Joy DeGruy. I think I don't know if I pronounced her last name right. She bad. and I don't even try to pretend to be nearly in the class, but she talks about post-traumatic slave syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Man, when I tell you that has to be, I'm like, why are we not teaching this on the corners, like
Right.
everywhere? And the deep part about it is like, it's not even mainly about our trauma, but their trauma. Because for that simple fact, what happens, like what type of traumatic events and legacy and generation is going on for generation after generation? You pass down this mentality of being able to look at a human race and do everything that they've done to us, and you not have no issues from that.
Right.
Like, what goes on in your mind, in your psyche,
For you to say that was 100 years ago.
It was well, even to say that, but to put yourself back there in the famous picture of them lynching and burning that body and that little girl there, like, to picnic, for it to be a family affair that you bring your children to watch the mutilation of these brown bodies. What the hell go on in your head? Like, what kind of psychological mess is that?
Right.
Like, we got our trauma,
right?
But can y'all acknowledge for 1 second, like,
how
y'all got some
desensitized that y'all are as a people?
Oh my gosh, like, that's crazy. Like, and I had never thought about that until I listened to her whole dissertation on that, and you can find that on YouTube, y'all. It's deep. Like, it's deep. When I saw that, it kind of changed my perspective.
Right.
And it made me think of the little TikTok we saw of the black boy who was like, I'm tired of all these black pain movies. Like, we know what it's like to be black in America.
All
we
the movies about growing up in the hood, making it out the hood.
Like, we need another narrative. And it made it, when I heard that, like, I was able to get on that wavelength, because I'm like, man, y'all be pointing the finger at us, but can we call y'all to the carpet for a second?
Right.
Because that mess right there, come on, that's worth it. Like, that's worth it.
Right.
Like, for real. And it's just crazy because, like, and even with all of this, it sucks in the manner of that that's like and then even with all of that, it's almost like we can't even have our dang on trauma. Not that we want the trauma, but being able to properly grieve in the trauma. Like, when you look at the Jewish culture and what they went through with the Holocaust and different things like that, most of those cultures, I feel like, had their chance to kind of recompense within themselves and their communities. Not saying that everything
they were
completely
given another
ended. Yeah, but they got a chance to kind of get some healing in that. Right. Like, we have all these memorials, but you know what I'm saying?
At the same time, they were also offered economic freedom as well.
That's true.
They were offered equity.
That's
like,
true.
You see all the, like, you see it. Like, Jewish people have the stigma of being wealthy. Like, you don't know a Jewish person that ain't got money. And that's because of the mourning period that they were able to go through. The way that the government responded to their trauma. Yeah. We all acknowledge the Holocaust and all
dang, that was effed up.
Right.
That was effed up. Have we got it effed up?
The camps, everything. But we were in camps for 400 years. Like, come on now.
That's crazy.
Like, you don't see it as a camp because it wasn't a physical building that was enclosed and all these people were shoved into. But we were in camps, those cabins, those slave quarters. Like, us being out in the field. Like, free labor.
I don't even know if you can equivalent it to a camp. Because let me be real. Let me just tell you my perspective. We had the little mamsy-pamsy, oh, there were slaves, and they picked the cotton, and they didn't have great conditions, and, you know, the master whipped them and beat them, and that's jacked up by itself. But be grown and start really looking at that.
That's
crap
another.
That they did. This trauma, this stuff.
Yeah, that's another piece of the puzzle. Like, they'll acknowledge that slavery, halfway acknowledge that slavery existed and that they were physically brutalized, hung, and things like that. We don't acknowledge the systematic, manipulation, the systematic brainwashing,
That's the word
the
right
systematic illness that they put on our mental state.
Yeah.
Because you went through this physical beating and it's like, get over that. But you don't acknowledge the mental issues that have stemmed from that trauma that still linger into our society.
Yeah.
Not only from slavery, but the things that happen post-slavery. Like the things that we have adopted as a culture.
We never had a break in them.
Right. I remember traveling to Disneyland with my grandfather, and it was so exciting, and we had like these bags of fried chicken, like everything was on the road. We didn't make no stops. We had the jugs in the bag and all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is fun. Like I got to eat chicken out the bag. We ain't gotta stop. We ain't gotta stop and use. I could go on the side of the road, stuff like that. Not knowing that this is all trauma that has seeped into our culture, and the real reason that we carrying bags of cold chicken and not making as little stops as we can and only stopping in the daytime is because of all the shit that happened to our people post-slavery.
Yeah.
Sundown towns. Yeah. Stopping somewhere to get a bite to eat and being harassed. If not taken somewhere and drugged down the street and hung.
Yep, for simply being.
For being us. Trying to do the same thing that they do every single day. That's trauma.
Yeah.
There's so much trauma that's seeped into our culture.
Yeah.
And that we live with today. And some things that our kids, not saying our kids, but our kids as a whole community will never know, because we don't realize that all this stuff is stemming from the trauma that was passed down to us as a result of slavery.
Yeah. And we perpetuate it. Like, I think I saw a status that was like, I can't remember exactly how it said, but it was talking about like to tell a black person to just, teach that child how to properly cooperate in front of a cop, or and it's like, do you hear what you're saying right now? Like, so you're telling me that I don't have the right that you have to just live and be and do what you want to do, but because I'm who I am, I have to teach my child to basically go with the oppression. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Not only that, but what other citizen has to know the law in and out in order to be able to be comfortable enough to survive a traffic stop?
And then that don't even matter, because there's no.
But just stopping just at that point, like, for us to feel comfortable at a traffic stop enough to effectively communicate with the officer and not just shut up and obey, we have to know the law inside and out and know the law better than the police officer that is making the stop.
Yeah.
In order for us to feel comfortable enough,
not even that,
to communicate, not even just but to communicate with the officer.
Well, the fact that you feel like you have to call somebody, if you got somebody in a car, have them call somebody, who the other person get the camera,
turn the video
and cut the video on, cut the voice memo on, so that if it go left, there's something there that can help prove and or justify what we just went through. And it's just like, this goes so deep, and I think to just kind of like, it's so much that it's just so much. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you hear all these different things, and I'll be honest with you. At first, I'm like, defund, like reform. You hear all these words thrown out, and it wasn't really until, I ain't gonna lie, and y'all gonna be like, for real, Dory, it took you all the way to this, but Mr. Dante Wright, air fresheners. And here's the thing, like, I'm a whole black person, but that one right there, for whatever reason, I don't even want to say for whatever reason, I think everyone has their all of it has hit home.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me specifically is the trauma of seeing him as young as he was, and he reminds me of Levi.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, every time I see him, all in my mind, I'm like, my son about to turn 11. And he looked just like that dude.
Already talking about driving.
Already talking, well, and for air fresheners, like, dang. Like, I'm over here trying to make sure you hit the signal and you know the driving. You know what I'm saying? Like, making sure that you got all this run down. But dang, now I got to be conscious of what you have in your car to be successful and get you something that you desire. You know, he into cars and want all these fancy stuff. I'm like, well, shoot, do I want to get you? You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want too fancy of a car. You don't want too bummy of a car. You don't want too great of speed.
That's facts, because they even pulling over white people with exotic car, or people that assume themselves to be white, over for exotic cars just because it's an exotic car. So let alone a black person driving an exotic car, like.
And just if the trauma of fear of just being in America, we're in the midst of buying a home for the first time. Like, all of these different things about where to live.
Let's talk about that trauma. How because neither of us come from a household that has owned a home.
Yeah.
So this is a result of trauma, really. Like, the anxiety that we have is because it's the unknown. Like, don't know what to do. I'm going to a lot of my other friends, specifically trying to reach out to my black friends just to recognize the experiences that they've used in this. Not only that, but making sure that I use a black person to go through this financial process or the home buying process with. Not only that, making sure my finances are in order, because that was never taught to me. Financial literacy has been absent from any of my childhood, even schooling.
Yeah.
So all this anxiety that we have going into buying a home,
and then knowing that you for real got banks who literally just last year was getting sued because they were double fining black people, making their stuff but this is the stuff that we've been going into the unknown. Well, and just even with the recent events of the little boy literally just walking through his neighborhood,
his own neighborhood.
His parents pay taxes in that dang on city town, probably got HOAs and all of that, just like the other white family. And the fact that you gonna for real sit there, not the fact that you put your hands on him, Lord Jesus, y'all gonna see me all over the news.
But you must feel like a really big man. I've been in the military. I know people exactly like that, and they know who to approach and who not to approach. Because I can tell you right now, that same dude, if I was walking down that neighborhood, he would not have approached me like that. He took advantage of the way that boy looked and the timid personality that he had to try to exercise what he assumed to be his privilege and his authority over him.
That thirst for power, and I don't even know how real we want to get on this.
But they know who to approach.
I don't even know how real we want to get on this. Because you get me to talking, you get me into private conversation, and I get to talking real bold. Because I just feel like this it stems down to power, which we all know. Let's not even try to play this game like it's not what it is. It's a power game. But why do you want power?
Why are you so threatened?
But why that part? That's the part. Because was it the other day we were having that talk about the cultures and different. I'll tell you what it was. Nailani was watching Bubble Guppies.
Yep.
It was the Bubble Guppies episode, and they were the Chinese New Year. And the little episode, the little she come up and they, every episode of Bubble Guppies. I'm gonna run it down to you if you've never watched it. But they're always on their way to preschool and they run into somebody.
Yep.
Well, they ran into the acrobatics practicing for the Chinese New Year parade, right?
Shout out to Bubble Guppies because they be schooling these kids on cultures.
They do, and I love it. And they're like, yeah, it's the Chinese New Year parade, and they was telling them about the dragon and how it works, and they was hyped. They was like, yeah, you should come back and watch the parade. So they was like, we're gonna go tell everyone about the parade. So they go to school, and Mr. Grouper, shout out to Mr. Grouper.
I know Mr. Grouper's black.
He is. I'm telling you.
He's a goldfish, but he's black.
And I'm going to tell you who else was black. They tried to play it, but she was just mixed with, she was red hair, but Miss Frizzle.
Yeah.
Miss Frizzle was black, too.
Miss Frizzle. Yeah.
Miss Frizzle was black. I used to dream.
She might have been Native American.
I used to dream Miss Frizzle was a real person. Like, I wanted Miss Frizzle to be my teacher.
Right.
So bad. That would have been the littest classroom ever, okay? But I'm telling y'all, Miss Frizzle black, Mr. Grouper black. But, like, so, and then when they get back to the class, they tell the class and Mr. Grouper, then Mr. Grouper be like, all right, then that's today's lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole episode is them in school learning about the lesson or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, so I say all that to say, we listening to it, and they're running down Chinese history.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know kites was invented by the Chinese people? I didn't know that.
I was like, say word.
I said, what? Then they said paper. I said, see...
I just knew in the depths of my mind, I just knew because of all the English and literature and all this stuff that I could have swore it was them.
I was going to give them that one.
I imagine some big person that assumed themselves to be white person chopping down trees and making paper.
Or just like chop down some trees and some little shavings came out. They was like, man, what we gonna do with this? Like, well, maybe I can just like throw some water on it and it'll go away.
It was the Asian culture.
It was
the whole time.
But makes sense though. Because when you start thinking about it to literature and scripts, like think of all those scripts. But we were sitting there and I told Corey, I said, see, that's what the power is for. Because the culture, the history. You keep telling, man, we're going to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to say it. You keep wanting to tell somebody to go back to their country. Well, where are you going back to? Can I ask you that?
And this is not to come against any of our friends that assume themselves to be white. And I keep on saying that. European Americans.
But I just have to say it.
Like if we tried to live one day, and not just without black inventions.
Looking right outside our window.
Right.
The kids is outside playing, and guess who just pulled up? The sheriff.
Yeah.
The sheriff. Yeah.
But...
And we live in what is assumed to be a predominantly...
And if our kids was here, we probably been to stop this podcast and went out to see what was going on.
Yeah.
Just because of their presence.
Yeah.
Knowing that our kids most likely have not done anything wrong, but making sure that they're safe and making sure that everything out there is going as it should be.
As it should.
But...
Yeah, and just on the side note, I know we just kind of switched shifts right there, but like just that balance of trying to teach them respect,
mm-hmm.
And authority, respect, and standing in your space, taking your space,
right,
respectfully, like
because we want to teach our kids to not to go along with the status quo, right? But we also want to teach them to remain safe, and part of not going with the status quo is challenging authority, but challenging authority also puts you in an unsafe
place,
territory.
Yeah.
So how do you teach a child that type of balance? A balance that I don't even have right now. Like right. I have
and they're walking through the cars.
Who
are you looking for? I'm sorry, y'all. We in a whole pocket.
I have
trying to figure out what the cops is doing. But when you see 12 on the scene as a black person, you got questions. See, and I'm so glad that they're with their grandmother right now, because I don't know what's going on.
But that's something that I struggle with myself. Like being in the military, first of all. Like I could tell you my first experiences in the military. Like I got off the dang the bus for basic training. And they started yelling, and I laughed because you think that a little yelling is going to frighten me or shake me up. You don't know the household I grew up in. So that got me in trouble. But not only that, right.
Oh.
But not only that, going through basic training, for what I feel like going through basic as a black person and other black people in my squadron or my element, we like, this is it. Meanwhile, you got European American kids that are pretty much about to have a mental breakdown because of the stress that's going on in basic training. Someone that is yelling at you, and that's pretty much all they're doing, is yelling at you, telling you to do push-ups, sit-ups, giving you direction because you haven't followed direction. They can't put hands on you. Shoot, now they can't even cuss at you anymore. But they're going through, like, no lie, and I don't want to make light of it. I promise I don't, because I know what it feels like to be in a point where you're questioning suicide and things like that. But just the difference between
You do?
Yes, just the difference between being black in that situation and identifying with the other black people that were going through that situation, and then seeing the fear and anxiety that was in our counterparts. Fast forward to getting out of the military and being in the area, a professional area, and expected to abide by authority, right? But at the same time, balancing my own self-respect, right?
And that's it right there.
So you have people that are above you, that outrank you, and that you're supposed to listen to. But when does the balance of being disrespected and respecting authority collide? And how do you stand up for yourself in an institution like that and still not receive repercussions? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, so I had a supervisor who, for whatever reason, he just had it out for me. I don't know what his personal issues were towards me, or if they were even personal, and he just had this feeling. But I went into a shop, and I went through a few issues. One with I had my identity stolen, so I almost lost my security clearance because there's all this stuff that I didn't identify coming in. I was 17 when I enlisted into the Air Force. So all this stuff that was when I was 15 years old, that's on my credit, or before then. Some of it was when I was like 10, 11.
You had one that was like, I was 4 years old, sir.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know how I had a whole account.
obviously, I didn't lie, and obviously this stuff was on there as no result of my own doing. So going through that situation and just having somebody, one, already make up their mind in what type of person you were, and that they tell your own my trainer not to even worry about it, just let them kick me out. And then not only that, run into situations where you're physically yelling at me and I'm talking calm, and we're both adults. I'm not in training anymore. Yes, you're my superior, but you're yelling at me for no reason, because I'm doing what you said. I'm not disrespecting you, to the point I'm like, okay, I can't, being the person that I am, just take this. I don't care who you are, what rank you hold. I cannot continue to take disrespect. And then not only that, traveling to a phone, like if you're on the phone with me and you yelling at me, it click, we hanging up. Like, call back, you still yelling, I'll talk to you when you're calm. Click. Like, that is something that you do not do in the military. But I did not get repercussions, because they seen the level of disrespect and they knew what type of person I was. So just trying to teach that to children is what I was getting to.
You went really light on that. Like, that man, like, I had never in my life seen anybody come for somebody. And I've come from family, like, I come from a little small town, like, that's me, basically a little country bumpkin. Like, so, you know, coming into the city and you know, all that stuff, I learned a lot of culture really coming from you, because, like, you come from a big city, like, you've experienced a lot more than I did. It was just me, my mom, like, my four and no more, basically, like, was kind of like the lifestyle I had growing up. So I just didn't get a lot of exposure to a lot of things. So race, you know, things like racism, prejudice, that type of stuff, like, yeah, I kind of experienced it, but not to, you know, no real extent. So, like, watching you go through that was a whole nother, level. Because I'm like, oh no, this white man, because at first I think it was kind of like, oh well, maybe he's just one of them old like angry people, like he just do that to everybody. But then it was like very clear that it was not to everyone, it was specifically to you. And like every chance that man got to try to put a dig or to like distort your character or to end your career or to do any of that, he took it and tried. But like much respect, because even in the trauma, I thought about this point, it sucks and what we go through, but that it builds a whole different beast. And I think that's the other part to this whole thing too, is that yeah, the pain and all of that, but man, we some strong people.
The resilience like, that we have as a people.
That is built, because even in that and watching you go through that, and like you won't retaliate in no crazy way, you would just blow it out the water to where it was no irrefutable proof, like there was no way that you couldn't do anything, because if you did, it was like blatantly, right.
But to the point where other people in the shop stood up for me and they wrote, he wouldn't write, I don't have one award that was written by him. It was all for people that are supposed to be on, quote unquote, the same level as me as far as workers within the shop. Those people wrote awards for me because they knew it wasn't going to be done. And even beyond that, like I think that my time in that unit, I was undervalued a lot, and other people seen it, but unfortunately, those other people didn't have enough clout to do anything about it, but they saw it, and that's ultimately why I ended up getting out, because I'm not gonna be somewhere where I can't progress the way that I know I'm supposed to progress. I should have been. Never mind. I won't even go into that. But
he should have went far, people. But you did. Like, and I gotta brag on you, because even the whole thing with your Spain trip, if I can just go ahead and just brag on you with that, like this dude, when he was supposed to go, like, cause was it okay? Correct me if I get my facts wrong, cause you know me, but. Wasn't it a thing where, like, you had to be a certain status to go, like an E3, E4, whatever? So
in the maintenance world, no, not even rank. In the maintenance world, you have...
so hold on. So he used to fix the big jets, like the C-17.
The cargo aircraft. I did fuel system maintenance on cargo aircraft. Specifically at this time, planes, it was the C-5s.
Like some big planes.
And then the end of my career, it was the C-17s.
It smelled like gas.
So, yeah. But you're supposed to have a certain maintenance level. So there's like entry, which is like apprentice, which I was going through my apprenticeship at that time. And then you have a journeyman and then a craftsman. So the trip called for a journeyman. And at this point, I was still, as far as time was concerned, still in my apprentice phase. But the trip called for a journeyman, which is a 5 level. And I was not. I was 3 level apprentice. But they had enough confidence in me to not only send me over, but I was the only person from my shop that went over. So that, like,
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, I was the only.
I didn't know you was the only one.
Yeah, I was the only fuel. There was other people on the trip, but the trip was only slotted for one fuel system mechanic, and I was that fuel system mechanic. Yeah.
I didn't know that part. Yes. Come on.
So yeah.
I didn't know that part. At least I didn't gather it.
But from the beginning of my career, this is the same time I'm going through all the issues with the supervisor.
Yeah. But then even when you got over there, though, this is the part for me, because I don't know, I'll be reading a lot of stuff, but I think somebody else said it. But I do get, like, why you people go to other countries and experience living and be like, deuce. Because you got over there and then you finally started getting, well, you got that recognition that you for real should have already been getting.
Well, that just further solidified the reason they sent me over there, because once I got over there was another fuel system mechanic that was a 7 level, which is the craftsman, and I was working alongside of him as a 3 level and trying to follow his lead and everything. But from what I was learning and the expertise that I gathered from my training, a lot of what he was doing was not only wrong but dangerous. And you ain't about to kill me. It's like, this is not. I'm not dying in Spain in a fire caused by you. That's not what's about to happen.
Listen, let me tell you something. If you ever want to know something about a black person, let me tell you something. We don't play them games.
Right.
Don't run. Don't break out in no running. If you don't want to incite panic.
Yeah.
With a group of black people, I dare you just one day, just be with all your friends and just take off running.
Yeah.
We don't play that stuff. We don't play with that.
So,
and we don't play with our life. We ain't going in nowhere deep.
Mm-hmm.
Nowhere in the dark. If I don't know where I'm going and know my coordinates, I ain't going.
And here's the thing, expertise wise, he could have said, "Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is what we're supposed to do." But on another level, like, I went to the people and I was like, I don't feel like this. He's doing this, and that, and they're like, okay, and why do you feel that? And I was able to break out the TOs. I was able to tell them exactly what the procedures were supposed to be and what he was doing that was not reflecting those procedures, and how it was dangerous and how it could be detrimental to not only the aircraft but to the personnel.
Yeah.
In the area and in the media area.
You got some stuff going on.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But that okay, I ain't gonna take the conversation that way.
But even with that, I never got recognition from him. It was my senior trainer that put me in for the award that I got for that. It was my senior trainer that even recognized me. It was my senior trainer that sent me over there, that had the confidence in me in the first place. So, yeah.
But needless to say, y'all, he got a medal and everything. So I'll say all that to say
It was an achievement medal. It wasn't that big of a deal.
It's a big deal to me.
Anyway, so trauma while black. What do we want to say about, I guess, the solution or resolution, or not for people that assume themselves to be white European Americans, but ourselves as a people, as our culture. What is our response to trauma while black?
I think this is where we have to really dig into and really normalize. This is why I love the people and I love our generation who is stepping up and talking about healing, who's stepping up and normalizing therapy, normalizing these things, because
true self-care.
Yeah, self-care, because we've been taught it's so back to the whole humanity part. Like, we've been taught not to even see the humanity in ourselves.
Right, acknowledge the humanity in ourselves.
And to acknowledge the humanity
because
in
a lot
other.
of times we see ourselves as inhuman, whether it be superhuman or whether it be subhuman. We're taught to be one of the others. We're taught that you're never going to be any good because you're just an animal, or we're taught that you have to be twice as good to survive and to thrive in this world.
Yeah.
So we're taught on each end of the spectrum not to be human.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's at the forefront. And then what happens is the dilemma that we experience right now as parents, because we're raising little people. Mm-hmm. So, and I think that's where we have to focus at.
How do you condition a boy not to be a man too soon?
Yeah.
Like, that is something that...
But then send him out into a world.
Right, but that's something, like, at Levi's age right now, I was taught to already be a man. My son is still a boy. He does not fully know how to process his emotions. So how can I expect him to maneuver through life as a man at 10 years old?
10.
That sounds wrong. 10 years old. That
10 years
I hate the way that sounds coming out. But
10 years old.
but
No,
yeah,
that's
like
real.
we teach our boys to like grow up, be men, stop that crying, don't show emotions,
Don't
and
do
then
that.
we shame them for not being emotional as adults.
Yep.
Like, make it make sense.
That's trauma, though.
That was just in culture tags. Make it make sense.
Shout out. Talk facts. You
But
the
yeah.
only want to get free promo. You only want.
So, as we wrap it up, I guess I'll say, like, as far as my piece is my favorite quote by Terrence, who is who's thought to be the first black playwright. Shout out to Maya Angelou. May she rest in peace. She's the one that made me aware of this quote. Homo sum humani nihil ame alenium putu is Latin, and it means I am human, nothing human is alien to me. So, as far as us dealing with this ourselves, the trauma that we're seeing, the trauma that we're going through, we have to understand that we are human, and that the people that are going through these situations on both ends are human as well. So we have to be able to understand that pain. We have to be able to understand what people are going through. At the very least, empathize. Yeah. Not understand and identify with them and their condition, but be able to understand the pain that we're going through. We're all sons and daughters at the very least. The very least. If you don't have friends, if you don't have children, like, yeah, but we are all sons and daughters at the very least. And we understand what it is to come from another being and to have someone care for us. And for that person to feel pain and understand that pain. So that's why, like, we're human. Nothing human is alien to us. We have to show humanity.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree when you were saying it. I was just thinking, like, well, then get out and understand what it feels like. Because that's humanity.
Right.
If you go through, I mean, I know
you
there may
can't
be
see
different religions.
If you can't see your child, if you, not even your child, if you can't see your best friend put that through that situation and not understand the pain that, not that person, but the pain that you would be dealing with if things like this happen to your best friend.
Yeah. The
then
one you
I
didn't
don't
broke
know.
bread
Yeah,
with,
I don't.
You didn't talk to. You didn't share intimate spaces with. Meaning, like, you know, your home and different things like that. Like, I don't feel like how is it that hard? How's it that hard?
Right.
So my thing is, okay, well, quit talking about it and be about it. So you need to learn some things.
If you don't understand it, go try. At the very least, try.
And educate yourself. And I stand on both fences because I'm a people person and I don't like to leave people out there. But at the same time, like, for all my friends out there who don't look like me, yo black friends, like, public service announcement, we tired. We tired. We tired. We tired. We tired. We are tired. We are tired. And we are tired of trying to help you understand. It is time for y'all to take responsibility and step on out here and educate yourself. And, I mean, we there to help, but we not going to lug this work for you. That's my part.
Right.
We're not going to lug this work for you. You going to have to make an attempt to get to know.
We can't educate
Don't come to
some
me talking
person
about,
that is not willing to be
exactly.
to learn.
Well, put yourself out there, and then when you get some experience, let's talk about it.
And if we do try to educate somebody
or
that's
at
not
least
willing
come with
to
some
learn,
missed
then
facts so I can at least correct the facts.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Just don't try to take that responsibility off yourself. Like,
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm just tapped out. It's so much that we have to already deal with and go through for the simple fact that you gonna come on there on my post. Like, ma'am, I love you so much and you are hilarious and we had so much fun together, but, like, this is one that's your responsibility. I'm gonna point you in a direction, but you gonna have to do this work for you. Because here's the thing, like, and this I guess is the other part. BLAK, acknowledge, no. Take some acknowledgement. I thank you for the acknowledgement that you don't understand the pain. I thank you for that, because if we don't have no acknowledgement, then you don't got nothing. So now that door is open, go ahead and walk through it. Now let's get to some knowing. Get to the root of some things. Sit down and ask yourself, why can't I understand that pain? What's going, like, not even so much what's going on with me, but where am I at that I don't understand that pain? Because if you human, I'm human. I say that we're friends. I say that I love you. Where's this disconnect coming through that I can't feel that pain? Because I can tell you right now, Corey already know, I can watch a movie, a whole fake movie, cartoon movie.
A lot of us can.
I just did it the other night and cry. I
dropped real thug tears. I call mine thug tears. They thug tears.
Me too, because I'm a thug. But my son was watching a little BFG movie about the giant. And the big giant came in there mistreating the little old man giant who was talking to the kid. Boy, my heart, hey, you got to cut my energy, because I'm over here empathizing with a whole made up giant creature man.
Great.
So you can't tell me
where's
the disconnect, because now I'm have to say, put that mirror to yourself, because that's something with you. Where are you viewing this at? Because it's not hard. What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You believe in something along the line that you need to check, and those are the areas that I'm talking about. For my how you call them? What you say? European
American. Those who assume themselves to be white.
Y'all. What he said. Y'all. The accountability has to be there to break them cycles of thoughts in y'all's on y'all's part, to begin to see that humanity again. Because I don't want to say there ain't nothing we can do, but in some aspects, there ain't really nothing we can do until they take some responsibility and start moving some things on their end. Like, we can educate, we can do all that stuff, but when it comes to those personal, like, generational curse breaking things, those are individual, family, like calling people out. You're gonna have to call auntie and them out at the dinner when they start talking stupid. You're gonna have to start checking some people
and tell them that's an ignorant statement.
And that's an ignorant statement. Like, those things have to start happening.
Right. They
have to. And I'm confident in this generation. I am confident because I love the fact that this generation, like our generation, is like, yeah, but this generation that's underneath us, they listen. I'm gonna tell y'all, they ain't playing. Like, right. they about that life.
Right. Because we're coming into a generation that we've passed down a lot. I know. We passed down what do I want to say? Like, it's a generation that's kind of far removed from, not too far removed, but they have acknowledgement of, but they're removed from a lot of the direct trauma that has happened, right? Because my kids, I didn't live in quote unquote segregation, right? I didn't live in slavery, but my mom did, my grandmother did, my great grandmother did, and these are all people that I've had conversation with. My children, they won't really have the extensive conversations that I've had with them, so they have somewhat of a what do I want to say? A feeling. I don't know the word that I want to give. A confidence. It's not the word I want to use, but like a confidence, like a knowing of who they are and how they're supposed to be. Yeah, a boldness of what they're supposed to be in this world. An identity with what they're supposed to have and what level they're supposed to be on. So they're not settling for less. This next generation is going to demand. It's like Tupac said.
We done asking.
Done asking. We about to take it by force.
We knocking. We coming through the door.
Ain't no more. We've been singing the songs.
Been singing. Please, what he say?
Yeah, we
Please
sing,
let
us
me
see
in.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
hungry. Please let me in. Now it's listen. Actually, we kind of at the point where you be like,
yeah, we're at the point where let us
boom,
in, or we
I'm
about to
coming
knock
through
down the door.
It ain't even that
and the
part.
door's
Like,
not
we
being
knocking
open
the door
still.
down.
So you're coming on a generation that is
They not
the door
asking.
is on the ground and they're running
They
through.
running through.
So
They're running through, and I'm want to be a part of creating that human being that will stand up and be what's right.
Yeah.
And for all of my beautiful melanated people out there, take time to do the work, y'all, because it's so important. The same way that I told my counterparts to start checking those things, we got to do the same thing, y'all. Our responsibility is there too.
Yep.
But that healing, break some things. We're gonna come back with parenting while Black, and we're gonna kind of talk about some of those things. But do the work. This been dope, though.
Yeah, this is a dope first episode. This has been Trauma While Black with Corey and Dory. This is Blaklove. We love y'all. Peace.
Peace.